We're going to be talking about policies and procedures, drafting them, us assisting with you in getting those done, or us reviewing them. What is a policy or procedure? Now, this is a document that is, I call them living documents. So as your business expands or gets more sophisticated or contracts, you're going to need different policies and procedures in relation to this. You're not going to need a policy about working from home if there's two of you working in the office. You're probably going to need a policy about travel in the workplace if you've just hired 5 traveling sales personnel. Yeah, so it does depend on what you're doing and how big you are or what you need. But normally it's a living document that works with you and your business. It is not something that is incorporated into your employment contract, and I cannot stress that enough. But a lot of people say, oh, can't I just have that in the employment contract? Well, let's talk about a policy that might not make any sense at all in the employment contract. For instance, you might have in your employment contract that your employees need to not breach the IT policy, yep, or they must use the internet in accordance with the IT policy. Now, if you prescribed what that IT policy was in the employment contract and technology changes, the internet moves on, there are different ways that people can enter into your business by reading emails and having, fake accounts, and you didn't put that into the employment contract, then your employee doesn't necessarily need to comply with that requirement. But if you tell them they need to comply with the internet policy and that policy changes as technology changes, then they have to comply with those changes as they go on. So there are things that you put in an employment contract and things that you specifically leave out and put into policies. It's a bit of a murky area in some ways. If you don't know the difference and you think it's important for your business, certainly give us a call. We can absolutely help you nut out what the rights and wrongs are on that. One of the benefits of having these policies reviewed and drafted by MJT Law, well, we know all about them, which helps. We also know about other people's businesses, so we can give you more information about another policy that you haven't thought of, or we can look at your policy in one way and know from our experience that perhaps it would be better if it looked like this. So, more minds on the matter will actually create a better result. So that's one reason why using MJT Law is a really good idea. The other way is at least you know that your policies comply with the legal requirements. There are policies out there that just don't make any sense. They've been pulled off the internet, drafted from American perspective, and just don't make any sense here. And if you have a policy that doesn't make any sense, how are you going to ask your employees to comply with it? I have one policy that encompasses a variety of topics. Is it best to separate them out, or can I keep them as one document? It's a really interesting question. I have a lot of employers who have one giant document that's basically, the employee handbook, for instance. Is that a good thing? Well, I guess it doesn't matter, but I'm always really wary about these giant documents that encompass all the policies and how much the employee is actually reading. For instance, if you've got a document that's 60 pages long, when was the last time you read all the way through it? However, if you have a policy that's 2 pages long, but you've got 10 of them, or you've got 30 of them, then it's more likely than not, at some point you're going to wade through them all. I'm just mindful that they might flip through the front, flip through the back, but not look in the middle. And if they're signing a document saying that they've read the policies, and they really actually haven't, look, it's not great. So I think it depends on the business, and I think it depends on what you're trying to achieve by this handbook, and I think it depends on how you are making sure your employees are reading it. I have had the same policy for 5 years. Is it time to change it? I have no idea. It depends on the policy. For instance, you might have a clothing policy that states all employees must wear suits. That probably doesn't need to be changed in 5 years. If you've got a business that everyone wears suits, then they're going to continue wearing suits in 5 years' time. But if you have a policy that states, for instance, everybody must use Yahoo search engine, and in 5 years' time Yahoo is bought out by Google and it's no longer called Yahoo, how are they going to comply with that policy? So I think it really does depend on the policy. It also depends on the law. 10 years ago we didn't have the rules around smoking that we have now, so the policy back then wouldn't necessarily give you the same quality and protection under the Work Health and Safety Act as it would 10 years ago. Or you might have something that's come up and it actually needs a policy of its own, and it's all encompassed into one. Like you might have a policy that just talks about PPE, and actually you've got a business that deals with engineered stone. So in fact that PPE, I think it's probably a good idea to have a specific policy for those workers who are working in and around that engineered stone, for its own protection. So it does actually depend, I think, on the sort of policy, the sort of business you've got, and actually what's happening out there in the industry and work health and safety and employment law and all of that. I guess the answer is it's complicated. It's always been complicated. Do I need to have policies, or can I capture all the information in the employment contract? Now, we've talked a little bit about this a little bit earlier on. It's not a good idea to put all your policies into your employment contract for all the reasons I talked about. Also, I don't think it's also a good idea to have one giant policy, because I don't think people are going to read it. But it's certainly important for you to think about how you're going to incorporate those policies into your employment contract. Now, we can help you with all of this. We can help you draft the policies, identify the policies that are right for you. We can help you update your policies, and we can certainly help you implement it into your employment agreements and make sure that you've got the right processes in place so you are ensuring that your employees read those policies. So thanks for watching.